Gunfire Reborn weapon tier list. Anyone that's picked up this roguelite would know that this game is fucking addicting. I've somehow already got 43 hours in just over 3 days, as I have no life, but you know, there's practically no videos on the game and no information really out there, so I decided I may as well be the judge for what guns rank and where. Feel free to fight me in the comments about my decisions. I'll take them all into consideration, even if your opinion's trash. For context, I'm max level, and I've unlocked all the guns except for one, as that gun is cucked as fuck, behind a huge ass grind. I've tested them all out and think these are the appropriate rankings. This is the tier list in all its glory. I'll go over and talk about each gun. I'll leave timestamps in the description for the start of each tier ramble. So we'll start from the bottom. First of all, we have the E tier, and this pretty much stands for any gun that is basically dog shit in all regards and isn't even that fun to use. So in the E tier we have the Ghost Shork. Man, I've tried to love this gun and I've tried it a few times, but holy shit. It's meant to be a sniper slash crossbow, but it feels impossible to use. It's awful for clearing, has a really small magazine size, its fire rate's awful, and it just has awful damage. It's just weak in every regard, and it doesn't even... There should almost be a special tier just for that alone. The Shrieker is alongside it, which with pretty much the same things and same problems. It's outclassed by every other gun similar to it. It's got a huge charge up time, and it doesn't even do that huge damage. D tier is next, and this is kind of for the guns that are a little fun, or have like its case use, but for all intents and purposes are like dog shit. So first up we have the Golden Bow. This game is not a game. This bow is fun, and it's like incredibly fun to use, but it's not great, and it doesn't do great damage either. This should probably be E, but just for the fact like it's bow and you feel like you're playing like, I don't know, Overwatch or something, you're Hanzo, it basically puts it in D tier alone. Justice is cool. You get Justice early on, and when you first get it, you think it's gonna be fucking sick because you're like, oh shit, this doesn't look sick. But then you realize it's awful, and the mechanic of like manually detonating the grenades just feels bad, especially when there are guns that do the same but better. Pupil is a shame that it's this low. It's a shame that it's on the D tier. It's a shotgun that you can charge up and do more accurate and more powerful shots the longer you charge, and you unlock it very late in the game, and that's why it's a shame it's this low, because it's not that great. You have other shotguns that are far better, and it's just really weak even for a gun with elemental built in, it's just really weak. Rainbow is a D tier, and it has a few very specific case uses, but for otherwise, awful. Clearing wise, it's really not that great. The only time you'd ever find yourself using this is if you find a really good version, and you mark on a boss's crit spot. Something like the Ichthyosaurus, mark on its mouth, and then you just hold left click for days, and you can attack them even while they're in the ground. The Wild Hunt is the last in the D tier, and is another shotgun, which it's a shame there's so many shotguns so low actually. But there's only 2 magazines, 2 bullets in the magazine, and every time you shoot it instantly drains it, as it shoots once when you click and once when you let go. So you basically lose your mag every time. On top of that, its damage is really awful, and it's not that great. It feels really gimped. But you kind of have to have guns like this in order to make the other guns feel great. So we have the C tier. This is just below average, and the guns in this could be great, but they just quite don't match up to anything being higher. And this also happens to have the second most guns in this tier. So first up we have the Argus. The projectiles are cool, and it's cool first, so like first time you shoot it, and then it gets boring very quick. If you have a really nice one, like all guns if you have a really nice one, could be cool, but otherwise it just can't perform. It can't match up to any other gun. The Big Hippo is C tier, but it's actually a lot of fun. If you're playing Owlby, the dog, it can be awesome dual wielding these and just go into town. But otherwise, with it being such a heavy gun, it's really hard to find a case point, like a really good, nice time to use it. It doesn't have anything built into it either, like elemental damage or anything that could really help it shine. The Foundry I might get some flack for having this in the C tier, But there's one, you always have the foundry, so it's whatever. But there are case uses for it. Even when you're doing the jumping parkours, etc., if you don't have, if you have a lot of big guns or anything heavy, you're always going to switch to the foundry to jump these puzzles. On top of that, the foundry isn't even bad. A lot of the time I use the foundry just solidly for the first stage. It does just fine. Frenzied Shark is up next, and this is a great example of just a gun that's better than a one ranked lower than that, in this case the Justice. It's a grenade launcher kind of like pistol thing, and it just does everything the Justice does, but better. Illusion's is a shotgun, and this is just a very basic shotgun that has increased rate of fire the longer you fire. This was pretty fun to use early on, and it's one of the guns you kind of have access from the start, so it's alright, but it's quickly outclassed by everything else, and the fact that it uses large ammo is like, it's a slot you don't really want to be using, especially when there's so many other contenders for fun and great large ammoed guns. Piston Flame's a sniper. It's really fun actually. This is a shame it's C tier as well, but like just trying to be more objective about it. It brings back like fucking like phase memories, like played Modern Warfare 2, quick scoping around and just ganging around with it. It's fun, but it's awful for clearing. And you quickly get overwhelmed by the amount of monsters there are, especially if you're going into like stage 3 or even stage 2 when you have a million coyotes on your ass and you got bandit techs sniping you from across the map. Just trying to handle it is very rough. We have the Sunder in the C tier as well. The Sunder is okay, and it wouldn't be anywhere near as low if it wasn't as awkward to damage bosses with it. I actually enjoy it quite a bit for clearing, but it's really difficult to get any sort of boss damage off, and once again, it takes up the large ammo slot, which is one of the better slots for guns. You usually tend to find large ammoed guns higher up on the list. The target cannon is in the C tier, mostly because I had a friend just having a go at me and begging for it to be anywhere higher than D, so I put it in the C tier. It could be good if you get some good ammo occult scrolls and you just blast away for days. But like a lot of the guns, a lot of the time being slow is very rough, as the game is based around dodging things. So being slow will fuck you over really hard. The Woodpecker's the last on the C tier list. It's actually probably one of the better in the list. In the C tier anyway. It's a kind of assault rifle sniper, and you can auto fire it pretty fast actually. I wouldn't scope in with it, but it's pretty fun to use, just like as if you were using an assault rifle. And it's just very average. I don't know. It's just a little below average, and that's why I put it in the C tier. Alright, slowly making our way up. We now have the B tier. So the B tier is the upper end of average. So the first off, we have the Angelic Aura. And another thing to note, anything in the B tier is usually pretty good if you get good rolls, and can be a really good endgame weapon. And for all intents and purposes are great. There's nothing really holding these things back. So from here on up, it's just kind of good guns. So yeah, the Angelic Aura first. This is the perfect example of just fun average. There's nothing special about it. It's just a 3-round burst. You can hold it down submachine gun. Doesn't do anything super fancy. Does normal damage. Very average. Very normal. And that's great. It's good to have average sometimes. Aura Venom is up next. It's a pistol that does corrosive damage. This is B, predominantly because of the corrosive. It does great damage to armor. It falls off later in the game, but if you have some specific occult scroll combos, it can be really good. One really good thing about it is you can cheese the achievement where you need to kill Lubu in 10 seconds. If you get the Deft Ammo scroll, it allows you to use 2 seconds infinite ammo of your clip, and you can just spam right click the empty clip for Aura Venom and just shred the bosses. It's a cool little combo, but it's very like case use, so that's why it's B tier. Bone Dragon's up next. This is the Shrieker, but in every way and form better. There's no reason you should ever use a Shrieker when you have the Bone Dragon or the Bone Daddy. This thing shoots a black hole-like ball that drags all enemies in and does heaps of damage. Getting a really juiced up one of these is really good for the end game, especially stage 3 when there's a lot of enemies that are really brutal to verse and they can really dogpile you quickly. things like the Lancers, etc., they'll just fuck your shit if you don't have something like this, or if you don't have a way to deal with them. Cavalry is another great example of average. There's nothing special going on, and that's completely fine. It's fine to just have a nice, normal shooting gun. It's nothing. Some people like that. I enjoy cavalry a bit because it's fun just to shoot, but it's quickly outclassed by any other gun that is fun and has other benefits to it. Concealed ammo is alongside this category as well. It's just an average submachine gun. You can throw it, but I wouldn't recommend throwing it. You might, if you were playing Owlby or something like that, you might be able to just scale explosion damage or something. But for all like other reasons, it's a very average. This doesn't stop me from looking for good combos when it drops, but it's a nice normal ammoed gun. Double caliber is the highest sniper on this list, and it's a shame there's not more love for snipers in this game, but given the nature of how dangerous the game is and how quickly you can die by not moving, it's difficult to have scoped in snipers be high on the list. Instead, I actually use this sniper as a shotgun. Having its ammo return straight to the clip is incredibly good when you hit shots, and it allows you to actually just drill the enemies with this thing. Dragon Chaser is the next in the B tier, and joins all the other assault rifles in this tier. Perfectly average. The only thing to note about this one is that it has the mark ability with its right click, so you can mark bosses and stuff like that, and it will go straight to that spot. If you switch weapons, it will get rid of the mark, just in case you fuck it up. So you can switch weapons and it'll be just fine. Fire Dragon is probably the most controversial one, and I imagine I might get some flack for this one. A lot of people love this gun, and its built-in fire damage is awesome, its huge ammo clip's awesome, and it's awesome looking gun as well. It's by far the most creative. But its range is a huge gimp, and you're basically shooting yourself in the foot. It's really difficult to play with this, especially when there's so many enemies that can function at so many different ranges. It's really difficult to fight a million lanterns while you have a bunch of octopuses firing at you from across the map. And it's just a really scary situation to be in when you have it. But it can go great if you comboed with something like, I don't know, a prism or a sniper as a secondary. The laser glove, a lot of people might look down on this if you're just getting into the game, but the gloves are actually insane. They're awesome and they're super accurate, and when you first use it, it feels wonky and it kind of feels shit, but once you actually start playing with them, they're really nice. The laser glove can be in fire damage, does extra damage to health, so that's awesome, but it's also just all around great. You can't miss a crit if you're good. Like, being bad with the gloves is basically just operator error, and you're probably bad if you're bad with them, as you legit just point at the head, that's it. You're not, there's no fucking around there. It's not gonna miss. Rainbow Ark's the last of the B tier, the last average, and once again, it's a shame. A lot of these guns are really hard to unlock, or take quite a while to unlock, and they're just not that interesting, and it's unfortunate. It's not saying the game's bad. There's plenty of good guns, but just for such a high unlock, it's very average. It's kind of a shame. Juicer gun tier. We're in the A tier. So A tier is guns that are practically, you always want to be checking the mods. They're always really good, and even without mods, these things perform well. So first off, to clarify, I haven't actually got the Demon Law unlocked. This is the gun I mentioned at the start of the video that's an incredibly difficult one to grind for, and it would take hours to grind for this gun alone. However, we can see the stats in the armory, and we can tell that it's probably going to be a pretty good gun. It's got pretty good damage rate, and its rate of fire is comparable to even the fastest firing guns like Scalpel and Starter Barrow. On top of that, it's got a really unique modifier aspect of the gun, where the more damage dealt to one specific enemy increases either damage or crit, increases the damage as you keep attacking that enemy. So this thing's going to shred bosses, and it's going to be a really good gun. I can imagine it being great. Next up we have the Lightning Blast. Lightning Blast is in a tricky spot where the gun's a B tier for all intents and purposes. However, it has an awesome support ability. The ability to shoot a lightning ball, and any bullet that passes through that lightning ball does 50% more damage, is insane. And that alone is why this thing is A tier. It's a great combo alongside any other gun, and it's awesome for early levels where you can shred shield. Another highly contested one is the Porcupine in the A tier. I put Porcupine in the A tier as I feel naturally it can't compare with the S tier, but it definitely deserves to be a high A. This thing is pinpoint accurate for a shotgun, but it just acts like a sniper. It's literally better than all the snipers in the game, and it's a shotgun. It does corrosive damage, so it absolutely obliterates armor / yellow health, and it's insane. It does heaps of AoE damage on top of that, and it's definitely a great contender, and definitely sits well in the A tier. Scalpel is up next, and this thing is basically the Needler from Halo, and it has an awesome mode where you can switch to 2-shot mode, and it fucking destroys. Getting any sort of damage modifier on this, something like fire, lightning, or corrosive, helps obliterate enemies. And it's honestly probably one of the guns I always look out for, as the modifiers are really boosted. On top of that, it just being all around a huge rate of fire, and the 2-shot being great, and the amount of ammo occult scrolls you can get make this thing a beast. Scorching Rounds is, I'd say, contested a little. I think it's A tier, but it can definitely be a little like awkward to fire at first. Not as accurate as a lot of the other guns in this tier, I guess. It only has 4 shots in the magazine, and it's pretty easy to get a cucked roll that like makes your magazine half the size or whatever. But it's got a huge, like a very fast rate of fire, and I've found all my games with the largest DPS runs have been with Scorching Rounds, as its crits are huge. You land crits and you do so much damage. It's unreal, and that's why I think it deserves to be in the A tier. The Star Devourer is also in the A tier, and this thing is the starting god. Ideally, if you get this, you can upgrade it really cheap early on, and you can just roll through the first boss's health like it's nothing. It's also really unique in that you don't have to reload it, and while awkward at first, this can be really good, especially if you have bonus magazine size or any of those occult scrolls or modifiers that help boost it. Lightning damage is just really strong, and having elemental damage on your weapon as a starter helps boost it in the tier list. Last of all, we have the Thunderclap gloves. These are the better laser gloves. It does shock damage, which is awesome, but it does AoE damage as well. The shock slightly spreads to other enemies, so it's a lot easier to clear with, and it's not so reliant on playing the dog character in order to be good. With the dog character, you can go Iron Man and just play both gloves and fuck shit up, and it's awesome. But as the cat, the Thunderclap gloves are really good, and it's really good damage, and easy to buff as well as you're playing the cat, and you can just get the Ascension bonuses. Oh, on top of that, this thing's pinpoint accurate as well, just like the laser gloves. It's impossible to fuck up with. Alright, last but not least, we have the S tier, and we only have one real contender for it, and that's Prism. Prism is fucking broken. This thing is insane. There's no reason to take, if you're going for a fast run or fast damage, huge damage or whatever, there's no reason to take anything other than Prism. This thing is great in all regards. It has corrosive damage, so it's awesome for armor. It's pinpoint accurate, huge crit damage. It's easy to fire. You rarely have ammo problems, and you can get busted damage on this thing just due to the nature of it. If you get bonus projectiles, it's insane, as it's only throwing 1 kunai, but it's just gaining like multiplied bonuses. And it's also really easy to buff, as there's a lot of different occult scrolls with things like the first shot in the magazine does extra damage, or the last shot in the magazine does extra damage. And Prism only has 1 magazine, so it gains benefits from all of these. This is really the only one that stands out by far as the best gun in the game, and you get it really on as well, so it's really nice. The only shame about it is after you've played with it for a while, it can be boring, but that's just personal preference, and it doesn't stop it from subjectively, because it's my fucking opinion, but being the best gun in the game. I honestly don't think there's anything better, and it's awesome. It's incredibly fun to use, and it's a beast to use with damage. So yeah, that's the tier list video for Gunfire Reborn. This is just my last little minute where I fucking ramble on about whatever the fuck. If you're watching, like the video if you do like the video. Otherwise, don't like it. That's not a problem either. If you are subscribed to me, which would be rare, but I will be making more Part of Exile content, and I am super hyped for the Harvest League. The two-hander skills look really fun to play with, and I'll be making a video and stuff like that. And I might even make a video beforehand elaborating a little further, but otherwise I'll be releasing another Gunfire video. I've been thinking about doing one that's like increased like how to level as fast as possible, whatever. But I don't know, I kind of just wanted to make a video. I like playing around, and I really like making all this shit as fucking annoying as it can be. I had to like Photoshop the demon lore so it looks like I've unlocked it, but because just for cleanliness sake. But yeah, if you do like the videos, subscribe. Otherwise, don't. That's sweet too. Hopefully you enjoy. I'll leave like a IMG link, and I'll even leave a spreadsheet link and stuff like that in the description, so you can look at the tier list and I'll update it, etc. And definitely comment if you think I've got a shit. If you think I've got a shit take, let me know. I'll gladly like talk to whoever and discuss it. But yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like, and I'll make more shit videos.